You are looking at a 15-minute chart of the Nasdaq, and you can see here I've identified these past 3 Fridays. I always say that the close is more important than the open, and the Friday close is the most important as it lends us an insight to investor sentiment, institutional investor sentiment, and I would say the last 3 Friday shows they're kind of skittish in that the weekend has created a risk event, or they're perceiving it as a risk event, and you can see selling into the close every Friday afternoon, or it starts early on. There's the 24th, here's the 31st, just straight down. So you're best taking profits on Friday morning or Thursday afternoon because the Friday closes have just been hideous. And that tells us that the market is a little skittish. Institutions are a little skittish going into the weekend. Now, if we take a look at the weekly chart, we can see there hasn't been that much damage here during the week. It's just that Friday afternoon selling. Last week, the index was down 0.5%. The prior week, 1.64, and 3 weeks ago it was up 1.65. So overall, it's just kind of sideways. You can see there's definitely choppy action on the weekly. It's just digesting these, gains here. But the Friday afternoon close has been problematic. And if we look at the daily chart, it shows this chop, since that December 16th high of 20,204, it's just been in this choppy range. It made this 7% correction, and it's just been, chopping and flopping around. So, there's opportunities within this chop area. There are stocks to choose and opportunities, but overall the market has been quite choppy, and it makes it a little more challenging to find winning stocks. It always helps to have the tailwinds from the market, to trade stocks. Anyway, on Friday, the Nasdaq was down 268 points, or call it 269, or 1.36%. You can see the volume was 2% above the 50-day average volume. So the Friday selling is a thing here. And and once you think you've got this pattern figured out, watch next Friday, it'll ramp a couple hundred points. So the market is going to fool the majority. And right now, I mean, you could just say since that 15,700, it's just digesting gains, and you're just gonna have to wait and be patient. I believe it'll break out of this chop suey pattern, but not yet. So you just got to be patient and wait, pick your spots. There are stocks that trade, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to show you that daily chart and the weekly chart of the Nasdaq, which was down 104 points, or 0.5% last week, on 4% above the average weekly volume. So, yeah, real choppy trade here. Not trending as we would like it, but you don't always get what you want. We get what we need, as Mick Jagger sang, and the S&P 500, same choppy thing. Oh, I know what I got to do. Got to show you that the Nasdaq is below the 50, and the SPY, or S&P 500, closed 0.4% above its 50. So it's a little healthier than the Nasdaq last week. And the S&P 500 was, it was flat, down less than 0.25%, 14 points. So I want to go back to the Nasdaq and show you that it is below its 50 as the S&P is above the 50. So I would say that would tell me, yeah, the Nasdaq is 0.4% below its 50, 0.5% below its 21, 0.6%. So that is some tight trading when you have those three moving averages just hugging it next to each other. It's going to break out of this eventually. I'm not going to say soon, but eventually it'll break out of this. It could be soon. It could be as early as Monday. So just stay vigilant, keep watching. You got your watch list, you got your red list, you got stocks that you own. So, if they're not performing and they're laggers, boot them and get those strong ones in there. I'm going to show you a ton of them here in a minute. All right, so I'm not going to go through all the other indexes. I want to keep this video semi-short. I just want to show you some gaps higher. I'm going to go through the earnings reports from last week because this is a weekly review. And Pinterest reported last week. I would say it had a pretty good response. And I'm not going to, expound on every one of these stocks, just showing you that these companies reported earnings and had positive responses. Expedia had a positive response. Mattel passing on the cost of the tariffs from, I don't know, the Barbie and Ken dolls are going to cost more, but it looks like investors are rewarding Mattel. They had a nice move out of a base. Philip Morris with their smokeless tobacco, whatever that is, gapped out of a base there. So that one looks good. Let me get you the exact data here. Yeah, 11% move. Yeah, with volume, we'll take that. MT, the steel group. So I'm showing you, toys and tobacco and steel and booking stocks and internet content stocks. I know it's content. It's this one gapped up 11% on Thursday and just had an inside day. I gave back 1.7% on Friday. That's ArcelorMittal Steel. What other ones do we have here? MRCY, have Mercy on me. This is Mercury Systems, a aerospace defense. Now this gapped out of a base 18% and then immediately breached the low of that session, which was a 48.06 on Thursday, and then back to the old pivot on Friday. So that didn't take long, as the low was 44.94, right next to that 44.65 points. So Mercury Systems giving something for everybody there. The longs, the shorts, the in-betweens, the new buyers. Yeah. Doximity, they reported Thursday and had a nice response on Friday. It's got that growth profile of accelerating growth quarter over quarter. And I said I wasn't going to expand on these charts, but I really like this one, 6/17/2025. You can see the accelerating, earnings growth. So this has got everything that we look for, a gap up with, 36%, 415% above the average, 50-day volume. So definitely keep your eye on this one. And this one, it's like, oh, I'm going to buy this gap up. That's fine. But, for me, if I bought this on Friday, I would have to get out of it, breach that low of 71.50. And that's, $8 from, that 79. That's 10%. So if you're giving yourself a stop loss there, that's a 10% loss. Uh, I don't know if I could deal with that. So for me, I would just wait and kind of wait for the moving averages to catch up, maybe a couple of inside days or something. But you don't want to see it breach the low of 71.50. And yeah, I just think that if you don't own it, don't chase it. Just let it come to you, or just move on. Once again, Mick says they come and go like streetcars. So just catch the next one, okay? You don't have to catch every one. Spotify reported last week. Nice, yeah, gap. It had already been out of that base and just had a nice response to its earnings report, 13%. So that's not necessarily a gap out of a base, but it's a gap higher on earnings. And, Spotify is just a leading stock in that, education media group. What else do we have here? Oh, Palantir, of course, they reported earlier in the week. Now, this is gapping out of a base at that 84.80. Buy point area. I would say that's like a 6-week, base. If you're a Darvis box trader, you could say, definitely what's in the box. Well, not Palantir anymore. This thing gapped higher, pulled back. It did breach the low of the gap day, but guess what? The next day it just ramped up another, 10%. Thank you very much. Yeah, 24% move. The low was 151. It did come back below it, 99.32. The index has been kind of, like I said, it's been choppy. So you got to expect some of this choppy action. Friday made a high, 116.30, then pulled back. It's getting a little stretched. Palantir is. All right, any more that I have? I know I have some Genpact. This is a commercial, outsourcing. This is like a, um, I don't know, information technology stock. But anyway, like I said, I wasn't going to expand on these charts. Anyway, up 11% on Friday. So just noticing the moves, okay? LEU, this is Centrus Energy, Alternative Energy. This is a really strong group. It's got GEV in there, OCLO. Yeah, some of the real stronger names. This one gapped up 33% on Friday. So that one is not to be ignored, Dan. And anyway, just wanted to show you some of these stocks with positive responses to earnings. I think I showed EXPE, didn't I? Yeah, the travel booking group, which is part of my boomer trade, gapping out of a base there, 11%. All right. Good enough, right? Um, some people asked me about stages in bases, and I just wanted to show you the IBD base stages, they're different than Weinstein. This is Stan Weinstein's like stages of, stage one, and then stage two is your ascending stage, and then stage three is like a stalling stage, like it cannot appreciate anymore, and then stage four is a decline. So this is the life or the of a growth stock, right? The cyclical life of a growth stock. Now this thing can come back down here and start it all over again. Start recycling. We've seen a lot of companies turn around and they make new highs. So that's quite different than the IBD, which I wanted to go to Shopify because Shop had a ton of bases back in if I go to the daily chart, I'll go to like 2020, well, I guess 2022 because 2021, but you can see how many bases. I'll go to 21 here. Excuse me, 2021. Thank you very much. How many bases this thing had? Base after base, and this is a late stage base, right? 7, 8, 9, 10. I think it had like 12 or 13 bases, right? And it finally reaches the top. If I go to 2022, um, come on, please. Yeah, it just reaches the top. And of course, this base was what? Oh, come on, Marty, 2022, brother. You can do it. There you go. And then it reaches its what, as all the software names did as the interest rates were rising and had this, stage four decline. But in IBD terminology, this thing had what is the stage, 8B10, like stage 15th base, okay, which is totally different from the Weinstein four stages of the life of a growth stock. So sometimes I'll say it's in a late stage base, which is like a base four or a base five, and they can undercut the base. Once they undercut the base, like it did here, then it starts a new base count. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that for some people who are saying, how could it be more than, four stages of a base? Because IBD is different. And you typically, if a stock has, four or five stages in its base, and they're more prone to fail on the breakouts. Anyway, I've got to go to a couple of names here that I like. I'm going to start off with the software group. The medical software is the top group. I'm going to get to those in a minute, but just some software names. Since that DeepSeek whack day, we've seen, a transition, a rotation out of those energy and hyperscaler names, in the Mag 7, they've been getting sold and the software names have been performing well. Now, this is DigitalOcean. I didn't have this on my red list. Clear, double bottom base here. I didn't buy this. I didn't have my radar list. I'm just showing you strength here in some software names. DigitalOcean reports on the 25th, and you got to be mindful of your earnings reports because you can get hammered, as we've seen with some stocks recently. Yeah, this one was up 8% last week, breaking out of this Weinstein stage one base. Okay. Don't get confused, all right, and don't get hung up on it. Like, I'm not going to buy this stock because it's a late stage base. Yeah, don't get hung up on the terminology. Snowflake, this is one that I like. This is this isn't a stage one base, IBD and Weinstein. If we go to the weekly chart, we can see, to me, this is like one big base. So it had this stage one base here and then undercut it. So it starts a new base, okay? And so this is a Weinstein stage one and an IBD stage one. And you can see it's just pulled back on Friday to its 10 EMA. So to me, I think the Friday, skittishness and, the algos, they turn on the algo sell programs when they hear them, that Michigan sentiment and, the report came out probably right after the tariff news and, the sentiment was really bad. And more inflation is expected. So, the selling came on, but to me, this is setting up here with a nice handle, a nice shakeout. Heck, I wouldn't mind to see this thing come back to its 21 before breaking out. The report is due on the 26th, so that could definitely be a catalyst. Duolingo, another one, with the education kind of in flux right now. I think a lot of people, and TikTok as well. Some people are flocking to Duolingo for language learning, and this thing, just technically looking at it, it's just set up in this base. Yeah, it's straight up from the bottom, and it needs to pull back, but it's still near that 378.48 buy point. It's showing strength there, and it's definitely one that I'm watching. So that one looks good. I did mention the medical group. This software medical is one of the top groups here in regards to performance. And this is Doximity, which broke out of that base. I already showed you that one. And then TDOC is another one in this computer software medical. This one looks like it's getting ready to break out of this base. In fact, it did on Friday with the news from Doximity, but they don't report till the 26th. So look for a little pullback here by that 12.45, 12 and a half, you call it, buy point there for Teladoc. So a couple stocks that I'm watching. All right, some other names that reported last week that, we got some pin action here. And the cybersecurity group, Fortinet, it had been flirting with that 100 level. It had been getting rejected at 100 many times here. And finally, now it pulled through 100, closed at 107.66 with volume. Is it done? I don't know. Is 100 a thing in the past? I don't know. It bounced off its 10 EMA. I'm hoping that, if the market cooperates, this thing can continue higher. Pretty decent, set of sales growth, right? 7, 11, 13, 17% sales growth. So Fortinet looks pretty good. And, you get some pin action in the group. CrowdStrike was really ramping on Friday. You can see at the open here it was up above 430. And then, of course, like everything else, it just cratered into the close and went from 431 to close of 421. So a $10 smackdown. Yeah. So anyway, I know people regret it. Why didn't I sell at 431? Well, that just depends on your tolerance. It looks fine to me. And if I go to the weekly here, you can see it was still up nearly 6% last week, breaking out of that base. We had that one on our ready list for a while as it broke above its downtrend line and then got near that standard buy point. But I'm going to have to take it off now because it's getting extended. Rubrik is another one that I like in this group. Software name. This one to me is still setting up here. This one's kind of a wild trader. But yeah, I like it above 75, 79, call it 76. So it's got some work to do to break out of this, this, what's in the box, the Darvis box, if you will. All right, moving on. Palo Alto Networks, I believe they report this week. Yes, the 13th. So you really have to be aware of your earnings date. This one has this cup with handle pattern and, gapped higher with the Fortinet news. Friday, if I go to a 5-minute chart, though, you can see it just sold off like everything else. So, that's the way it goes. But you can see the cup with handle pattern here. And if I go to the weekly chart, this is a weekly review. You can see that it's been in this base for 8 weeks, 20% depth in the base. That looks pretty good to me. The only problem is, just kind of like straight up off the lows there, 166.21. Now it's at 193. So maybe Monday and Tuesday could pull back, allow these moving averages to catch up. I think they're going to have a pretty decent report. This thing is a cash cow, and if it pulls back, it's usually a buying opportunity. After its earnings report, if it pulls back, could be time to pull the trigger. ONLO, this one has just been a beast. I believe this is, one of the strongest stocks, and it is the strongest stock in one of the stronger groups. And this thing has a clear pattern here that every time it pulls back, let's go to a 10-minute chart, maybe 15. Every time it pulls back, the shorts cover, so if you're trading this, yeah, you get this pullback here, and guess what? Shorts cover, pulls back, shorts cover, pulls back. So every time it's getting bought on these dips, every single time. And so you sell the rips, you sell these rips, right? You sell these rips and you buy these dips here and here and here. It's easier said than done, right? Because this is a wild thing. And if you hold it overnight, you could wake up having it down 10%. Got an upgrade on Friday with the price target of 58, I believe. But you can see here the higher lows, the higher highs. This thing's up 160% in 2025, and stocks that go up 5, 6, 7, 900% in a year, well, they start by going up 160% in the first 6 weeks, which is what ONLO has done. So this is one not to be ignored at all. Who else is in this? The nuclear stocks have gone nuclear, so that's all you could say about these things. Just incredible moves. This is NNE had this big move breakout from a base, and now it's had 2 inside weeks. So I'll be watching this one next week. That's nano nuclear energy. And then SMR is another one, new scale power, which is setting up here in this space. Another one that I like, because it moves, right? It's got this nice, gap up, and now the shakeout down to the moving average. Yeah, it's up 11% on Friday. These things move a lot, okay? Up, 8% for the week. Anyway, just had to show you that group, stronger names in the stronger group. And then I had to show you I mentioned the education. Something's going on with education. Obviously, the new administration has, different ideas than prior administrations, and there's a shakeup in the group, perhaps, maybe, these consumer education services have an opportunity here. So, I'm just looking at the charts and showing you strength here. These have the David Ryan ants, if you will, which just shows that there's been a lot of high volume buys recently and showing strength. So that's LRN is the ticker symbol, Stride. And there's another one in this group, ATGE is the ticker symbol, global education. And you can see it broke out of this base and running higher. And I'm just showing you strength. I'm not saying that these are the greatest stocks in the world. They're going to run forever. It's just something's going on with these, and they're moving higher. And I'm not going to ignore it. This is TAL Education Group. It's an ADR tutoring 3.9 million students. This one just broke out of the cup with handle pattern. Let's take a look at the weekly here. Yeah, this is a Chinese stock. Still, kind of loitering in the base here. Earnings line gradually heading north here. I know some people don't like buying stocks that are based in China, but I'm just showing you, this group is strong, top 20 group. These are some of the stronger stocks in the group and driving them higher. And I can't go much further without showing these the food group. The food groups have been rocking. I don't know why. I have an idea, I don't know, but I'm just showing you strength. This one broke above its downtrend line last week. Made a nice move on Friday of 5%. This is PPC, Pilgrim's Pride, 12 billion market cap. It's still setting up in a base, but above it, you can see that downtrend line. Earnings heading due north here, so we like that. And estimates, we'll see. That's always up to interpretation, but PPC doing well. And of course, I have to mention Sprouts Farmers Market. We had this one on our ready list. Last week, I was expecting it to make a handle, especially in this choppy tape, but this thing had other ideas and just ripped higher. So if you got that one, congrats. It was up, more than 6% last week while the Nasdaq was down. So, yeah, that's outperforming. The group is still, 109, retail mini mart. But the food stocks have been on fire, as we can attest to. You just go to Costco, right? Costco's king. This one broke out of a base. Yeah, pullback on Friday like everything else, but definitely a strong name in the group. And then Walmart, broke out. Again, this is a Dow Jones component. Might have trouble with that, Livermore psychological 100 level, but Walmart's definitely showing strength, up another 3% last week. And that is the food groups. And of course, I mentioned the boomer stocks. And this is a thing. I believe it's a thing. This is Alaska Airlines. The boomers are taking distributions out of their 401ks. They're flying all over the world. They're going on trips They're booking vacations on EXPE, as we saw. And what was the other one? TWLO. Yeah, get after it, you boomers. Live your best life. Spend your kids' inheritance. Anyway, yeah, Viking is another one. If you want to take those river cruises, which is very, I don't know, they're kind of expensive, but it's nice to stop in the big cities in Europe, and yeah, that's supposed to be a real nice experience. Viking Holdings, and then Marriott. Once again, you got to know your earnings date, the 11th. So, what is that, Monday? I'm lost now, Tuesday, something like that. Anyway, broke out of the base last week. Up nearly 5% on the week. I did have this one on the ready list, but it's earnings this week. All bets are off. Too risky. I'm taking this one off. So if you bought that and got it from the break above the downtrend line and made a nice gain, I'm not holding that one for earnings. No, thank you. And anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Except for, in honor of the great Steve Jobs, I have one more thing, and that is this week we have, the Mag 7, all their earnings are out of the way except for Nvidia. So to me, we have more interesting stocks reporting this week. And on Monday morning, before the market opens, we'll hear from McDonald's and On Semiconductor. This thing looks like it's beaten down, and maybe we'll get a little relief rally on that one. That one's tied to automobile industry. And then after the market closes, we got, ALAB, which got hit on that whack day. I think they're going to crush it. If you listen to Amazon, Google, Meta, I mean, these hyperscalers are spending money like crazy. These guys are going to get some of that cash, and I think they're going to report a real strong quarter. It's got that gap to fill there on, that whack day if you had it, which many did. Yeah, that's a low of 113. So I expect it to get back to 113. It was down 28% in a day. Ugh. So yeah, get back to 113 after earnings on Monday. We also have VRTX, a drug stock, powerhouse drug stock. They're going to report. And then another semiconductor name, Lattice, after the market closes on Monday. Shopify, which I showed you earlier. They report Tuesday morning, as well as Marriott. So this is the stuff that I'm looking forward to, not the Meta, the Amazon, the Google. Those stocks they're so big, you're not going to get, grand slams with those. So I'm looking for some of the smaller names. Upstart had a nice move with the Affirm report on Thursday, had a nice move on Friday. DoorDash, I'm in love with DoorDash, the chart that is. Yeah, the weekly chart, thing of beauty. It was up 3.5% last week. Maybe on a pullback after earnings. We'll see what they say on Tuesday after the market closes, but they're going to report. This is Freshworks, which is a software name, not to be confused with Fresh Pet, which I confuse sometimes. And then another drug stock, Gilead. Gilead, now that Dr. No's out of the way, I'm expecting more M&A from the biotech names. A lot of these big biotech stocks have to replenish their pipelines, and they're going to be buying some of their younger names. Yeah, Lena Khan is no longer at the FTC, so a little bit easier regulations there to kind of get through your deals. So businesses don't want to go through the process of buying a company then just be rejected by Dr. No. So that scenario is much different here in 2025. Vertiv reports Monday before the open. GHRC, no. Generac, the power company, reports Monday morning. Wow, that thing's been beaten down. And then one of my faves, Reddit, they report Wednesday morning. No, yeah, Wednesday after the close. And I'll just say Reddit's moved a lot. This IPO stock, been a monster winner, and you think, man, it's so stretched, it can't go any higher. Yeah, 13% last week. I'm going to have to trim some before this risk event with this new data point, but I think this could be one of your big monster stocks. And when I talk about hitting grand slams, I mean, this one already pretty much, it's a home run, but it could turn into a grand slam or a 10 bagger, whatever. After the election, I think you saw a lot of, liberals who were, I don't know, sensitive people who went to like Blue Sky, and they went to Reddit. So I think they're getting some of more subscribers post-election. That's just my thought. And that will, reflect in these numbers because the election was what? November 5. And so we're looking at that quarter and I'm just looking for, their subscription numbers. And I think it's going to be a big number. That doesn't mean the stock's going to go higher. It could certainly pull back to the 50 at any time. But just looking for the new data point there with the Reddit. I think it's going to be good. I think it's a big winner. And I can't sit there and talk about this one enough either. AppLovin, it had this big move. This thing went from 90 to 417. Thank you very much. If you got a big piece of that bone, I think there's still meat on the bone here at 362. They're going to report after the close, and you just got to wait for the data points. I think it's going to be a pretty good number from them Dutch Bros. I believe they report Wednesday. Market Search has it the 19th, but I believe it's Wednesday the 12th, a week earlier. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, TTD, the trade desk, which was a monster back in the day, right? 2020 has been kind of going sideways for a long time. The commercial services advertising stock. And then Thursday morning, Datadog. Looking forward to Datadog, CyberArk, and then, of course, CROX. The shoe group has been hammered. Yeah, shoe group doesn't look good at all. And then Thursday after the close, GoDaddy, another one that I like. Look at this chart, man, pulling back. Wouldn't surprise me to see that one break out. Pulls back to a moving average in lighter volume. That one looks good. Coinbase reports. Twilio reports Thursday after the close. So I'm really looking forward to these earnings this week. This one's already gapped higher in a pre-announcement, so they're probably going to confirm what they've already said. Not looking for a big move from them. And then another semiconductor equipment stock is reporting, and then of course Palo Alto Networks. I mentioned that one, set up in a base, and then Moderna. Like I said, these companies need to, they need to buy some growth here. So looking for more M&A. This is Friday morning Moderna. Thank you for watching my weekly review. I'll have a new ready list on Monday morning. I'm seeing a ton of stocks still set up in a base. This is like 5 or 6 weeks in a row that, we've seen choppy action in the indexes, and it's creating really nice looking charts. And so I'll have a ready list on Monday morning. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. At mcstockcharts.com, we never give up.